This is Christian Gomez with the New American Magazine, and today's top headline is written by Alex Newman, entitled UN Summit Seeks, quote, New World Order to, quote, transform the way we live. Today we have with us the author of that piece, Alex Newman. Thank you for joining us today on the program.
Hey, it's great to be with you. Thanks so much, Christian.
So Alex, there was a UN summit in Nairobi, Kenya. Tell us about this summit that we haven't heard much about in the media.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Christian. This was the UN Environment Assembly, the fourth, and it took place in Nairobi, Kenya. And what was, I think, most remarkable about this UN, so they like to call themselves the highest decision-making body for the world on the environment. So really bombastic. And what was so remarkable, I think, about this summit is how open they were about the agenda. You had the head of the UN Environmental Agency, Joyce Msuya from Tanzania, miseducated in Canada, says, "Our planet has reached its limits and we need to act now. We are delighted that the world has responded here in Nairobi with firm commitments to build a future where sustainability will be the overarching objective in everything we do. If countries deliver on all that was agreed here and implement the resolutions, we'll take a big step towards a new world order where we no longer grow at the expense of nature, but instead we see people and planet thrive together." So
Wow,
this is the kind of language
revealing.
that it is. And if we had said 2 years ago that these UN bureaucrats were working to and using environmentalism as a pretext to build a new world order, the fake news in America would have said, "Oh, look, a conspiracy theorist, how cute." And yet here you have the leader of this UN agency talking about the need for a new world order. You had another UN leader, the president of this assembly. He's the environment minister, I think, in Estonia. And he said that the agreements reached at this conference are going to transform the way we live. So we're going to have a new world order. It's going to transform the way we live, all under the pretext of saving the environment, saving the planet from evil humans. So this was a very significant conference, and it received virtually no media attention in the United States, Christian.
This quote from Musuya that you just read, where was that? Was that an official quote? Was that just something that that she said while speaking in an interview or a speech? Where did that come from?
Believe it or not, this was actually in a press release that was sent to my personal email. Because I go to a lot of these UN
press
conferences.
Release, then.
It was an official press release from the UN Environment Agency. And because I go to a lot of these conferences, I'm on all their email lists. And so they literally emailed this quote to my inbox. And, it's
that makes your job a lot
incredible
easier.
how bold they're being. Oh, it certainly does. Yeah.
And if you receive this in your inbox as a journalist and a reporter, I'm assuming, or we're assuming, that other journalists would have received the same message in their inboxes, yet we haven't heard much about this, or if anything at all, from the mainstream establishment media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN. They seem to be silent on this one. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thousands and thousands of journalists in the United States and around the world must have received the same email with these same quotes and the same information. What's happening, though, is the U.S. media would rather keep us distracted with fake news. Pay attention to what the Kardashians are doing. Oh, my goodness, an airplane crashed. And so we need to talk about that for 8 days. Oh, my goodness, another fake Trump scandal, on and on and on. Never the real news that matters, which is here's the leaders of the world. And this wasn't just some fly-by-night conference, right? You had the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, there preaching about the need to have a global government with global laws and global regulations and all the rest of it. This was a hugely significant event, and we didn't hear a peep about it from the U.S. media. And to the extent that it was mentioned, it was just kind of a footnote. Oh, look, some cute environmental leaders meeting together to save us all from evil pollution and all the rest of it. It's incredibly revealing about the state of the U.S. media that this was not on the front page of every newspaper in America, that this is not being endlessly cycled on the 24-hour cable news, quote unquote, I should put news in quotes, networks. It just proves once again that the media in the United States is a total joke. And if you want real information, you'll have to find it from sources like the New American.
So this conference, absolutely. So this conference was held in Nairobi, Kenya. What came out of the conference? So we know that the French president was there, President Macron. Was there a U.S. presence there? And what did the world leaders that were there, what did they agree to at the end of this conference, if anything?
There was a U.S. delegation there, and it was led by a senior bureaucrat from the State Department. I think it was the Bureau of Oceans and International Affairs. And so there was a U.S. presence there. They hosted some roundtable groups and all the rest of it. And the conference as a whole, they ended up producing a bunch of resolutions and final declarations. And I encourage people to go read the article and then go read the resolutions, because this stuff is very revealing. I mean, they are laying the foundation for a global environmental government, or a global government under the pretext of environmentalism. And, they talk about getting rid of plastics, right? The jihad on plastics that we've seen in California is now spreading worldwide. They want to get rid of plastic straws and single-use plastic packaging, which, of course, has done amazing things for sanitation, for the availability of cheap goods and services to poor people. You have all of this phooey stuff from the UN under the pretext of saving the planet. And so they have agreements on plastics, agreements on oceans, agreements on the environment. And all of it really revolves, Christian, around Agenda 2030. The key theme of this conference was sustainable production and consumption, which is one of the key points in the Agenda 2030, one of the Sustainable Development Goals. And, I say this all the time. I almost feel like a broken record, but you can't have the government control production and consumption without having a totalitarian state, right? In a free country, consumers and producers and private property owners decide things related to consumption and production. They decide what to produce, how to produce it, what to consume, when to consume it, et cetera, et cetera. When you start talking about having the government rearrange production and consumption to achieve some nebulous notion of sustainability, you're talking about eliminating freedom, eliminating private property, eliminating free markets. And of course, that's the goal. And the most ironic thing, Christian, when they do all this under the pretext of saving the environment, the most ironic thing is that the countries with the cleanest environments are the countries with the most devotion to free markets and private property. So the United States and Switzerland and Australia and New Zealand and Hong Kong, I mean, these are the countries with clean environments. The countries with the most polluted and disgusting environments are the countries where governments control production and consumption. The former Soviet Union, Zimbabwe, Venezuela. I mean, these are environmental disaster zones. They can't even keep the lights on. They polluted all their rivers, all their oceans. It's an absolute insanity. And yet they tell us here that they're going to save the environment by bringing us Marxism in environmental packaging. It's ludicrous.
Well, we encourage everyone to read your article available on thenewamerican.com. Again, the UN Summit Seeks New World Order to Transform the Way We Live by Alex Newman. Also, be sure to keep following Alex Newman's articles on thenewamerican.com as he continues to coverage articles of this nature regarding various UN assemblies and summits and conventions around the world. Well, thank you, Alex, for joining us on the program today. And we wish you well as you continue to update us and keep the American people informed about what the American mainstream media is not telling us. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you so much, Christian. God bless.
God bless you. And for those of you out there, be sure to like this video, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the New American YouTube channel as well. Thank you and take care.